Papa, are you a man of your word? My daughter asked me the other night. She was concerned that her father was going to break a promise that he had made to her and her siblings earlier in the week, a promise that she had been dwelling on with childlike anticipation. How would I possibly provide the previously promised s'mores now that it was storming outside and the fire pit was no longer an option? How would we celebrate the end of the first week of school? She could see the crispy, chocolatey, gooey goodness disappearing right before her young eyes. But even worse, she was now questioning her own father's integrity. If he can so frivolously break this promise, how could I believe him for anything? Now, don't get me wrong, this is a question that every man needs to answer, and every Christian leader will be faced with over and over again. And it's imperative that we get it right. Little did I know on Thursday night that just a couple days later, another PCA elder's vows would come into very public view. The PCA Book of Church Order states in chapters 21 and again in chapter 24, when ordaining a teaching or ruling elder, it's the second vow that we affirm that states, quote, "Do you sincerely receive and adopt the confession of faith and the catechisms of this church as containing the system of doctrine taught in the Holy Scriptures? And do you further promise that if at any time you find yourself out of accord with any of these fundamentals of the system of doctrine, you will, on your own initiative, make known to your presbytery the change which has taken place in your views since the assumption of this ordination vow?" End quote. Moreover, Numbers 30, verse 2 says, quote, "If a man makes a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth." End quote. And of course, James chapter 5, verse 12b states, "But let your yes be yes, and your no, no, lest you fall into judgment." So it's imperative that we are men of our word. So, did my kids get the s'mores that night despite pouring down rain? You're darn right they did.